The start of the 2018 IndyCar season began with a rookie, Robert Wickens, winning pole and dominating the race. But on the final restart, the Canadian was slammed by American Alexander Rossi.
Give it everything, you are the class of the field.
And with a clear opening, Sébastien Bourdais grabbed the lead and won for the second year in a row. Round 2 transitions from the sunny streets to the floodlit oval of Phoenix, where last year Simon Pagenaud won the first of 4 oval events for Team Penske, and his teammate Josef Newgarden captured the championship.
I love driving Indy cars.
After a full month away from the racetrack, the Verizon IndyCar Series is ready to roar back into life for the second round of the championship, the first oval event of the 2018 season. Just west of downtown Phoenix is ISM Raceway, and let's get things going with the command for the night's action.
Phoenix race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Please welcome tonight's Grand Marshal, Ambassador of Serious Fun Children's Network, Miss Clea Newman.
Drivers, start your engines.
Isn't that tremendous, having the daughter of the late Paul Newman, Clea Newman, as tonight's Grand Marshal. Engines are firing. It is a beautiful night here in the desert, ready to go racing on an oval for the first time this year. Marty, let's kick things off before we see green.
Lee, put yourself in Sébastien Bourdais' shoes. These are just the second oval race since he had that big accident at Indianapolis last May. And he told me that when I sit on the qualifying grid, I cannot help but think about that moment. And it's hard for me to work up the courage that it takes to be able to put a car on the pole just like I did here. But he knows he has a car that could possibly win tonight, Kevin, maybe even be in the podium. He said anything less than a top 5 would be an absolute disappointment.
Marty, James Hinchcliffe has also come back from a horrific scare and crash at Indianapolis. Very strong. Phoenix has not been good to him, though. He's crashed all 3 years here, either in practice or preseason testing, but he says he now knows what's happened, and they were surprised to qualify 5th yesterday. The race is a different matter, but he's confident they can beat racing. Katie?
Kevin, for the first time in several seasons, Graham Rahal has a full-time teammate. And who is it? None other than reigning Indy 500 champ Takuma Sato. And together they dominated preseason testing. But this weekend, the rest of the field has had a chance to catch up, and the teammates are starting mid-pack. But Graham and Takuma both think if they stick together, they can work their way to the front. Robin?
4 rookies are making their oval track debut tonight, Katie. None more impressive than Pietro Fittipaldi, the 21-year-old grandson of 2-time Indy winner Emerson. He was fast out here in practice, faster in the test, starts 10th. Keep your eye on this kid.
So, speaking of Pietro Fittipaldi, his teammate and pole sitter, Sébastien Bourdais, has an issue on pit road.
And Lee, he said, I've hit anti-stall mode and I cannot get out of it. And he said, as usual. So we'll check in what's going on. He said, right now they're not telling us anything about what we need to do with you, but he said he went to anti-stall mode and cannot get out of that mode, Townsend.
They need to get it refired before the final pace lap. If the final pace lap starts, Sébastien Bourdais cannot resume his original position.
Oh my.
And you see other teams helping out down here. He's in Robert Wickens' pit stall right now as his team is scurrying down with a starter, but Wickens' team has a starter out, and it has fired. He's in gear. You hear him peeling away, so Sébastien Bourdais out, I believe, in time, Lee.
And that's how the IndyCar Series is. He got help from a competing team that was leading the championship. That is awesome.
All right, so after that little heart rate spike for Sébastien Bourdais, the pole sitter, let's run you through the grid. And it's an all-French front row with Bourdais and countryman Simon Pagenaud starting right alongside.
Josef Newgarden really strong all weekend. Hunter-Ray Canaan, watch him on the start. He is a monster.
How about that? Look all the way back at row 9. Scott Dixon a multi-time winner in the IndyCar Series, and he's way back there. He has some work to do tonight.
He certainly does. And then Marco Andretti, there were problems with that car. We'll document that. We'll expand upon that during today's race.
Fastest in warm-up, Charlie Kimball. Watch for him. He had a good car last night, got his issues fixed.
All right, let's walk you through our onboards for tonight's 250 lapper. This is the Group 1001 onboard of Andretti Autosport's Zach Veach. That's what that will look like as we run through tonight's race. This is cool. This is in the nose cone of the car. Every car has it, and this one will be featured by Marco Andretti tonight, and it's the Honda onboard. Graham Rahal, the One Cure visor cam. Look at this. This is going to be spectacular as the lights take full effect. Graham is second in the championship at the moment as we switch to James Hinchcliffe, and this is the Lucas Oil onboard. Hinch and the Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports team are running high at the moment with a good run in St. Petersburg, Florida, and high qualifying positions here. And then with thanks to Verizon, this is the view that Simon Pagenaud on the front row will give us. Remember, Simon won here a year ago. And how about Takuma Sato driving for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan? This is the Verizon streaming onboard, and Taku has that nose camera as well. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile exclusively from Verizon, America's best streaming network. Are you ready to go oval racing, short track racing? It is time to bring the action! Good start, Sebastian Bourdais. Hunter Ray goes wide. Is he too wide?
Look at Hunter Ray slicing and dicing to the inside of Hinchcliffe. Hunter Ray is on the charge up front. Bourdais trying to check out already.
Don't know how much this is going to affect everybody in the field, but Bourdais did one less pace lap than everybody else, and that might pay off in fuel mileage. That would be a big advantage on a road course, but we'll see tonight with tires and fuel burn here.
That was Alexander Rossi making a move on Newgarden as we ride on board with Hinchcliffe. There goes Newgarden.
Whoa, big move on the outside.
Hunter Ray in that yellow and red DHL Andretti Autosport machine. Third car in shot. Not afraid to go high, not afraid to go low. RHR is a short track specialist. He was frustrated with qualifying yesterday. Let's see what the Indy 500 and Series champion can do here tonight.
How about his teammate Lee, Marco Andretti, the biggest mover so far. He went high just like Hunter Ray. Here we're on board with Marco. It looks like he just lost the position. Marco gained several spots. He's up 4 from his original starting position. Didn't sound too good on the shift.
Two downshifts out of the corner. He's got Dixon now all over the back of him. So we go on board. Going for the high line right away. That wheel getting loose around the outside.
He didn't have a whole lot of grip with it. You could tell he got in there and wanted to make sure it was going to stick before he laid into the throttle, but we're back up front.
You know what? All the talk is about his grandfather, Mario's 25th anniversary of his last IndyCar Series win. That was a leaf out of Marco's father, Michael's book. That's what Michael used to do all the time.
Well, Marco's been doing it for years on the short tracks, going big early, and Hunter Ray was kind of the guinea pig up ahead. Now we're watching. I love this nose cam. Look at the sparks coming off Bourdais. You can really get a feel for how the cars lay into the corner and how fast these guys are going around this 1 mile oval.
And they're already turning quick laps. 20.9 on the last lap for the leaders, Pagenaud and Bourdais, both running at the same pace. So speeds are already up at 180 miles an hour average.
Numbers come your way via the Firestone telemetry. Bourdais, Pagenaud, Rossi, Power, and the rookie Robert Wickens in the top 5.
That is tremendous. Your first ever oval race. Robert Wickens figuring out right away how to hang with the big dogs.
Rossi stalking the back of Pagenaud. You see Will Power, Wickens right there hanging onto the back of Will Power. So they've gapped Ryan Hunter-Reay a little bit as 5th, 6th, 7th is spreading out a little bit.
The 29-year-old Canadian, we cannot emphasize this enough. It's his first oval race and only his 2nd IndyCar race. This guy is good. He is very good.
Now keep in mind we're on lap 9. Tires are still fresh. The next 40 laps are the really hard part for Robert Wickens. Why? Because he has no experience in race trim, in race conditions with the controls available to him. The weight jacker and the anti-roll bars. He told me earlier, I just don't know what those things do until I try it, and that's going to happen right now.
Well, what's going to happen real soon here is we're going to start seeing some lap traffic because Chilton is running at 22.5 seconds the leaders in the high 20s. So last year we had no traffic. Everybody pretty much ran the same speed front to back, and I think we're going to see a lot more traffic, which is going to open up opportunities for guys to make picks and set up passes, and we're going to see some more passing.
Biggest change year over year, obviously the aero kit. Now a unified aero kit. No longer is it Honda and Chevy, so the degradation of the tires is much more aggressive.
Marty?
Lee, we talked about the nerves for Sebastian Bourdais before qualifying. Remember, he got out of the car visibly shaking, and then the incident before the race even started. It went into stall mode. They had to get out of that mode, and now there's maybe more problems on the 18. Take a listen on the radio.
Sebastian, right now we do not have the telemetry because of the car reboot, so you're going to be in charge of controls and wheel. You're going to have to do it on your own here.
So it'll all be in his hands tonight, and what effect will that have, Townsend, on the team? Might be a bigger deal at a road course, but nonetheless, they will not have telemetry for that 18 tonight, coming from the car to the pit stand.
Marty, the hardest part about that's going to be fuel tonight. Making sure the team understands where they are on fuel, and they're going to have to rely on Sebastian Bourdais reporting back to the pit stand on the information he's seen on the wheel.
And what they're going to have to do is do it the old school way back in the days when Mario won here. Your engineer and your fuel guy are going to have to be counting the amount of fuel out of the tank, what's gone in the tank, and they're going to have to reverse engineer everything rather than relying on telemetry.
And when we were down for IndyCar Live, the pre-race show on the grid, just before we went live on air, I spoke to Dave Faustino, Will Power's engineer, and he said, we've got our numbers, we've got our calculations. This is nothing new, but there's an element of, what do we expect tonight? This is going to be interesting. We're up and running in Phoenix. Stay with us. This is going to be great. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Tag Heuer, official timepiece of the IndyCar Series. And by United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of IndyCar and proud sponsor of Graham Rahal. And that was a night to remember. Earlier this weekend on Thursday night, Mario Andretti, there's our T-Bell alongside Mario. It was a fabulous night, just walking and talking and just thoroughly enjoying and absorbing what that man has done, and this anniversary occasion of the 25th anniversary since Mario's last IndyCar win.
Absolutely fascinating. Easiest job on TV, just pull up an old picture, Mario starts talking, and the storytelling was great. But this is going to be a lot different sort of race than what you had, Paul, back in 1993 in that race with Mario.
Well, much different. The cars now are a lot different, but we've got a lot of lap traffic like I had back in the day. So Bourdais already started the lap, guys. He's behind Kimball now, and Kimball is not a guy that ever makes it easy.
And as we went to the break, we told you about the story, a telemetry issue for the race leader, Sebastian Bourdais. Thankfully, for the 18 team, that has been resolved. And there is Dale Coyne, team principal. And he will be thrilled to see his man out in front, one of his two drivers. Let's get it to Katie Hargett. Katie?
Well, Lee, Marco Andretti initially started off this big weekend for his family extremely frustrated with the way his car was handling. So for the race today, he switched to a setup much more like that of his teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay, and we saw Ryan take that high line early on in the race, getting around several drivers, while Marco himself also up 3 positions. Kevin?
Katie, that kind of tells you how lost Marco was, because Ryan Hunter-Reay wasn't very happy with his setup. He was super concerned. So was his engineer, Ray Goslin. He said they were very loose. Felt like the car was going to spin around, and we're hearing a lot of people saying as the tires wear, they were dealing more with a push with understeer. So he has to feel very happy picking up a couple of positions right at the start of this race, and now he's holding steady. Michael Andretti, the car owner on the stand here. So far, Hunter-Reay has said nothing on the radio.
And Ryan currently runs 6th, up 2 positions from where he started tonight's Phoenix Grand Prix.
You know, I think Ryan's comments the other night reflect most of the drivers in the field right now, which is that he said, if you told me I was in last place in practice, I would have believed you. That's how bad it felt. That's what a handful I'm dealing with. I think and he was 4th at the time. Every driver dealing with a similar situation, trying to make the best of very difficult conditions.
Well, the guy right now that I'm watching is Rossi. He is all over the back of Pagano looking for a way by. So he's been fast all weekend. He is right now hunting and searching for a way by Pagano as they sit here in this lap traffic.
You know, one of the cool things about this 2018 season is, guys, is the variety already that we've seen from 1 1/4 rounds. And that is, it's not all Penske, Ganassi. Because look at the variety here. You've got Coyne, You've got Penske. You've got Andretti Autosport, Schmidt-Peterson.
And how about the 5 rookies?
Big run,
I mean,
big run right here.
Alexander Rossi thought about it.
Pagano's having none of those.
Oh, on the apron.
How fantastic are these new cameras? That was really close to Rossi losing it. That left front got over the white line onto the different banking, the less banking of the apron, and unhinged the car.
That shows you the difference between an Indy car and a NASCAR. NASCAR guys run all over that apron, Marty, and these Indy cars, you touch that and you nearly lose it.
Hey, and PT can almost feel that sense of urgency from Alexander Rossi. He told me he felt like early in the run, he needed to be very aggressive. He said at the end of the run, I think we're better than Simon Pagenaud. I think that we can get up there and pass him, but early in the run, I'm going to be aggressive. And you saw that there, trying to dip it down there to make that pass.
You see, he gets a run. Pagenaud blocks the inside. He goes high. Turns in, he's going to try an over-under, but gets the white line.
And the reason I think that happened, Paul, is that when you do a crossover like that, remember how low you sit in these Indy cars. If you're up high and you cross over the tail of another car, you can't see the apex until it's too late. So that's a big learning lesson for Rossi, and I'm sure that got his attention.
Look, the Power now is looking to capitalize.
So the order is Bourdais, Pagenaud, Rossi, Power, Wickens the rookie, Hunter-Reay, Newgarden, Hinchcliffe, Canaan, and Ed Jones, the Ganassi new boy, running in 10th. Where is his 4-time championship-winning teammate Scott Dixon? Uncharacteristically, Scott is running all the way back in 18th. Sebastian Bourdais has led all 35 laps thus far and is looking good. As you saw, there is a car in the wall, and it is the 21-year-old rookie, Pietro Fittipaldi, grandson of Formula One world champion, kart champion, and Indy 500 winner Emerson. This is his first IndyCar Series race, first oval race in an IndyCar, and had qualified well and was running really well. What went wrong, guys?
Already high in the corner, way high in the middle of 3 and 4, and you can see there's probably a ton of tire dust and desert dust up high off the line.
Not a huge contact, but team radio came on and said stop it on track, and it looked like he just broke a toe link in the rear, and the rear tire was wobbling around. And if it was me, I would have drove it in and see if they could fix it, get more laps, get some more experience tonight. But he's climbing out. Disappointing night for him, but it's great, Lee, to see the Fittipaldi name back in the series, isn't it?
It's terrific. Fittipaldi, Rahal, Andretti. It's terrific seeing these second and third generation drivers as part of the Verizon IndyCar Series. This could have also been a little bit of damage limitation. Remember, we got 3 races in 3 weekends. With the team not knowing how badly damaged that car was, hold it there, save it, a little bit of preservation with the upcoming weekends in mind. So it has been a race led all the way by the first car you see in shot, Sebastian Bourdais. Pit stops are ready to happen, and Marty Snyder is there.
Yeah, Lee, Sebastian Bourdais has led every lap so far in this race, and he said, I think everybody's just having their hands full out here. They asked him, do you want any changes to the car? He said, no, I think I can make all the changes I need from inside the car. No, he hits his front tire changer and knocks him over, and he's so close to the wall. I'm not sure they're going to be able to get that tire changed for Sebastian Bourdais. And you hear them saying, focus on the job, get the pit stop done, Kevin.
Up front, Will Power comes in. Robert Wickens right in front of him. Power said he wants no wing change, and he gets out first out of everyone. Then it's Josef Newgarden, followed by the 2 Schmidt-Peterson teammates and boyhood friends, and it looks like Wickens is just barely in front of Hinchcliffe.
What a move from Team Penske. Will Power gaining 3 positions.
Terrible situation for Bourdais. We were down on the track this time for the open of the show, and these pit boxes were very slick, concrete. He just locks up the left front, and you hear Craig Hampson, Bourdais' race engineer, jump right on the radio. He knows Bourdais feels terrible, and he's saying, hey, don't worry, he's fine. Stay focused. We'll get right back in this thing.
Barely locked the tires up. It wasn't a big lockup. He barely locked it on that concrete. You see Rossi, he comes in, locks it. Same thing. Hits his crew guys as well. So 2 of the fastest guys all weekend have now, with small mistakes, put themselves at the back of the field.
What happened to practice pit stops last year? Were those eliminated? Because I don't think we saw that tonight. So big change, first time for these guys doing it, and it's slick on pit lane.
Will Power, who's finished second here before, he wants the win here at ISM Raceway.
5 things you don't know about Josef Newgarden. Oh, that's hard. I love naps. I don't know if you know that. I love movies. I love food. I like snowboarding, and I love ping pong. I got a challenge going with Golden Tate. I think 2018 is the year of ping pong. There's 5 things you may or may not know about me.
3 of those things I thought he was talking about our teammate Paul Tracy.
Food sleeping.
Food sleeping. No, can you play ping pong, PT?
Not good at ping pong. Beer ping pong. Another story.
So this has been a dramatically shuffled order due to what went down on that opening round of pit stops, with Sebastian Bourdais going back, Alexander Rossi going back, Simon Pagenaud dropping, and up the front you see Will Power and Josef Newgarden, and the green flags. Let's go back to racing in Phoenix.
3 wide there. Scott Dixon backing out. Here comes Hunter Ray again to the high side in the yellow DHL car, going big.
That's been his signature move tonight, and it's working. Now Wickens is the next one on his list.
Pagenaud made the same move on the outside. Oh, it's tight down in there on the apron. So that was a very close maneuver there. But first, second, and third before the pit stops have all moved their way to the back. So they're going to have to fight hard. As we see, Leist, they're making a move. He got on the apron. He had to block that guy at turn 1. I think it was Rahal.
I think that was Rahal on Tony Kanaan. Rahal on Tony Kanaan. Those two have some history. Kanaan was the one down on the apron, I think, that had to back out of it. So it's getting fierce in the midfield. On board now with Graham Rahal.
Rossi has gotten by Bourdais. He's in the 14th behind his teammate. As we see now, Bourdais coming in, so he's got a problem.
This might be a penalty.
And that's what it is, guys. All of these guys who slid through their stalls and made contact with their crew members now have to serve a drive-through penalty. Sebastian Bourdais, also Alexander Rossi's going to have to come down pit road. Sebastian Bourdais, just for his team, Isaac Townsend was that left front tire changer. He is fine. He went from 1st to 13th. Now with the penalty, he'll go back further. Simon Pagenaud also slid through his stall. As you see, Alexander Rossi serving his penalty. Pagenaud slid through his stall as well, and also lost a right rear wheel nut. So, as you mentioned, Deft, a lot of changes on this pit stop, I should say, and we'll see how these penalties play out for these drivers.
Yeah, for the guys who are running up at the front, they're suddenly finding themselves at the back of the pack. This will be quite the comeback story if they can pull it off.
And I said before the break what happened to pit stop practice, but it was last night as we see Pagenaud's issue. He's pointing to something like he needs a wing change perhaps, and that cost Pagenaud extra time on the stop. And then he was late on getting the car in gear as the mechanic was signaling for him to go. He's all the way back in 12th, chasing Scott Dixon in that blue and orange car.
Not only that, Townsend, the front wheels were spinning over like he didn't have his foot on the brake to get the nuts tight. So all kinds of issues going on there. But luckily for him, he didn't hit anything and didn't run over anything. So he didn't get a penalty like Rossi and Bourdais. And now those two are a lap behind. You hear him working that throttle, Townsend. Now he's got to preserve his tires and kind of do some fuel mileage. He's got to basically, I think, now get off sequence at some point if he's going to make something happen to get to the front.
Love this perspective. Look at the precision of Scott Dixon up there, just tickling the yellow line to help the front end get a little more grip as Dixon's running in traffic with Ed Carpenter up ahead of him. And this is just sensational stuff. Now they're about 15 laps into the stint. In about 30 laps, they're really going to be sliding around.
And the PNC Bank machine, driven by Scott Dixon, none of us should be surprised. He was 18th before the stop, comes out 11th. Now, of course, trouble for those at the front help, but this is Scott Dixon to a T. Never gives up, keeps on digging, and that describes, in addition to a penalty, what happened to the 4-time champ at St. Petersburg for the season opener. Went to the back twice and came through to eventually finish in the top 10, which was a remarkable performance, but very characteristic for Dixon.
And and Lee, I would describe it as scrappy at St. Pete for Scott Dixon and his race team. I talked to him about that before the race. He said, you know what, when you have a championship run and you want to win a championship, you need to have those days. So yeah, to be able to go back to the field, in the back of the field twice, like you said, and come back up and finish 6th, that was a huge day for us. Another huge day potentially here at Phoenix. They have struggled with the handling of this race car, too loose in practice, too tight in qualifying, never been able to hit the balance, but yet here the Iceman is running in 11th, threatening from that top 10.
You know, Paul, earlier we were down on pit lane, and you can't make enough about Penske's preparation in this sport as we see Will Power comfortably leading right now. You remember both of us watched a Penske mechanic with an electric blower cleaning pit lane. We saw a couple other teams with brooms, but we didn't see everybody cleaning out that pit stall. Roger Penske, the captain, is so thorough with the way they approach. They leave no stone unturned in preparation, and it's already paid off.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys were out there. They had crew guys out there an hour before the start of the race, like Townsend said, cleaning out the pit boxes, cleaning the dust, making sure the surface was absolutely perfect for the first pit stop. And hey, we saw 3 guys make mistakes in the pits, and all 3 guys, and there was 5 championships between those 3 guys. 2 of them have 5 championships under their belt.
Wouldn't surprise me if this win comes down tonight. The difference between a blower and a broom perhaps on pit lane. For sure, the race on pit lane tonight is huge.
And Townsend, the field might be in trouble with Will Power getting a break. Remember, he's had the strongest car here the last 2 years. 2 years ago, he slid through a pit stop, finished 3rd. Last year, it was the yellow coming out of the wrong time, finished 2nd. But he said, I think I've got the car. If I get a break, he's in front, and he's expanding his gap.
Had a talk with him on Friday, did a little podcast with him, and he said, I said, how have you gotten so fast on the ovals? He goes, I don't know, mate. I goes, I kind of need to step up my street and road course game, mate. So he's like, he's getting a little bit self-conscious about, he's kind of lost his edge that he had on the road courses, and he's become quite an oval master.
And one of the things that Will Power has done in the off-season, he was quite fanatical anyway. He has ramped up his physical training, cycling in particular, and he said, you know what else I've done? He said, I'm hooked on it. I've been reading the book, Living with a SEAL, as in the Navy SEAL, with extreme training methods. He says, I'm absolutely hooked, and I feel the fittest and most focused I have ever been. And Will Power leads the way at the moment because of 2 incidents. This was one involving Sebastian Bourdais hitting a teammate and team personnel, and the same for Alexander Rossi. If you haven't done it yet, you can download the NBC Sports app to watch thousands of live sporting events, stream for free with your NBCSN subscription. For details, visit nbcsports.com/live. What a beautiful evening here in the desert. The Phoenix Grand Prix. Welcome back. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy. Excited to be back with you for the 2018 Verizon IndyCar Series. And Will Power of Team Penske leads the way in the Verizon machine over Josef Newgarden, his teammate. And guys, I don't think we can speak more highly enough of the Canadian Robert Wickens, the rookie who has never raced on an oval before, the 29-year-old who comes this way from the DTM, the German Touring Car Series. Those cars are beasts, and he has adapted to open wheel racing like he's been doing it for years.
Oh, he said he wasn't surprised at all how well it went for him at St. Petersburg. Again, this is a guy with high-level racing experience, but he was frankly surprised that he's been so quick here in his very first oval, qualifying 6th. The goal coming in, just run the laps, not put it in the wall, and get a top 10 finish. And he said even with the good qualifying effort, that goal has not changed. He was still very conservative in that. Just finish on the lead lap, and here he is with a chance to finish on the podium.
I was talking with one of my former mechanics who's now on the front end of Robert Wickens' car, and he said everything the team asks him to do, he just does. He's like a robot, and he's also asking the team all the time, just tell me, how am I doing with mileage? Do I need to make an adjustment? He's soaking this all up. He's learning at a rapid rate, and 2 races in, 2 totally different racetracks, guys. Robert Wickens is at the front.
Well, I'll tell you, he's a rookie here in Indy cars, but he's been around for a long time. He was, raced go-karts at 5 years old. He was in Atlantics on the Forsythe team when I was driving for Jerry Forsythe, and a teammate to James Hinchcliffe, and had Hinchcliffe under pressure quite a lot. So, and that was when he was 16 years old. So he's got a lot of experience, and then he went to Europe, and He's come back a pretty polished driver.
And did race very well in open wheel racing in Europe. But when you go to something like DTM, which is so cutthroat, so competitive, you've either got young upcomers in it, or you've got former Formula One drivers in it. It is so competitive, so important for the manufacturers, and he's been able to transition out of that to racing in North America once again very, very successfully. These cars are rocket ships on the ground. They are amazing. Robert raced for Mercedes for his time for various teams in DTM over, I think, an 8-year period he was there. He was successful. He won a handful, if not half a dozen races. And hey, just to qualify well in DTM, let alone winning a race, let alone winning multiple races. So keep your eye on Robert Wickens from Ontario, Canada, teammate to James Hinchcliffe. And there's another good rookie story, but a big difference in age and experience. This is Californian Kyle Kaiser in his very first IndyCar Series race. He is the reigning Indy Lights champion, and he's doing a nice job as well. He is our Chevy driver profile focal point at the moment, and I have to say, well done, Kyle Kaiser. He's running in 15th at the moment, and this is huge. And look at this, 2005 San Jose Grand Prix as a youngster.
How about the driving coach, Elio Castro-Neves, who's moving down to Kyle Kaiser's stand. Can't get much better than a 3-time Indy 500 winner.
He's so fresh out there. He's got a fresh helmet with no paint on it, so you couldn't have a better driving coach, like you said. And Castro-Neves and a brand new team into the series as well. They've been in Indy Lights a long time, but this Yukos team, brand new to IndyCar, so we welcome them here.
I think one thing that's impressive about Kaiser's debut is that Castro-Neves said yesterday, I don't really have much to say. Everything I see is exactly what I would do behind the wheel. So the kid's right on path, right on line, and things are looking good.
And Kyle had a platform or a bedrock of confidence anyway, because he got his very first Indy Lights race win here. So he said, I couldn't think of a more appropriate place to make my IndyCar Series debut. Here's Ed Jones, and Ed is running very well. The blue car there on the left. Ed is running in 6th. Tony Kanaan for the ABC Supply AJ Foyt racing team right behind him in 7th.
We'll talk about driver coaches. The guy in front there, Ed, he's got Dario Franchitti signed up as his coach for the year, and you couldn't ask for a better guy on the ovals to learn from them, Dario.
Certainly big shoes to fill, as you see on the graphic. Dan Weldon, Dario Franchitti. Look at the seasons and look at the number of wins. It doesn't surprise me that on a night and on a track where it's difficult to tame, there's already been some mistakes, that a guy like Ed Jones, who was hired for his solid performances, is delivering yet again a very solid, steady drive, just like he did last race at St. Pete. The question I think is going to be, as we get deeper into the season, the pressure will start to mount at Chip Ganassi Racing for him to deliver sensational performances. Wouldn't you agree, Paul?
I agree. When you get to Chip Ganassi Racing, when you get to the top level of this field, you're expected to win. And I think at some point, Ed did a great job last year, almost won the Indy 500. He led a long, long way and was right at the front at the end, but he's going to need to step his game up to the next level. And with the help of this team and Dario, I think he can get there.
Working lap 90, about almost 50 laps on the tires. So at this point, teams are going to start looking at the pace, trying to figure out when are we going to pit for tires.
Well, we just mentioned there, especially on the graphic, Dario Franchitti. I want to show you something from Dario, because today is a very special day. The late Jim Clark, 2-time Formula One World Drivers Champion, Indy 500 winner, is Dario's hero. And it's 50 years today that Jimmy Clark lost his life in an F2 race at Hockenheim. It's very much in the forefront of Dario's mind and motor racing fans all over the world. And this is the last Indy car that Jim Clark actually drove. It's a day to remember, and hard to believe it's been 50 years.
And I would not get in that. That thing is fast and scary.
Tell you who else is fast tonight is Ryan Hunter-Ray from Andretti Autosport. Look at the yellow and red DHL car. That is RHR, and he is on the move. He's up to 4th, and he's starting to size up the rookie, Robert Wickens. Racing under the lights here in the Phoenix Grand Prix, round 2 of the 2018 Verizon IndyCar Series. Welcome back. And this is nose cam aboard Simon Pagenaud, last year's winner here. The Team Penske pilot who was up front, started on the front row, but then had an awkward opening pit stop, lost a lot of time, and is trying desperately to work his way back. He's in 12th at the moment. Battle on screen is Scott Dixon, who is running in 11th.
About 10 laps until we start to see pit stops, and you can really appreciate how low the grip is on tire degradation, Paul. With Pagano, he was lifting almost at start-finish and just floating the thing down into turn 1.
He's got Rossi sandwiched in between him and Pagano, so Rossi is actually a lap down. He's gotten around Pagano, and he's working on Scott Dixon, but he's a lap down because of that pit penalty.
Pit penalty for hitting team personnel, same as Sebastian Bourdais. We've shown you a lot of the Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports driver Robert Wickens. Here is his Canadian teammate and good friend James Hinchcliffe. And there is that new Cosworth Electronics big dash. Have a look at it right in the middle there. Very easy to see.
Maybe too easy to see. It's almost like they need a brightness knob like we have in sports car racing to just take the edge off it at night.
Yeah, very bright steering wheel. The lights bright. Dash, we can read it very clear, and a slightly different shaped wheel here for Graham Rahal. He runs a very big wheel. He likes a big diameter wheel. You can see his hands are all the way out to the edge of the tub, so different size wheel, different shape wheel than what James Hinchcliffe had.
Firestone telemetry bringing you the numbers there for Graham Rahal, who is well positioned at the moment in 8th, and as far as the points is concerned as well. Just hear him massaging the throttle there as we go to Takuma Sato, and a reminder about our Verizon streaming, man. This is him right here. Go inside IndyCar all season long by downloading IndyCar Mobile exclusively from Verizon, America's best streaming network. And remember that while this is the first oval of the season, the next one is the Brickyard, and Taku had the best day of his life winning the 2017 Indy 500. And he has been a very well celebrated Indy 500 champion globally, I have to say.
And in Japan especially, he was already hugely celebrated as a Formula One driver, IndyCar accomplishments, but to win the Indy 500 now, he's full rock star.
Hey PT, how are you loving this nose cam?
I love it. I mean, watch the cars up close. We're on board here now with Zach Veach, and he is working on the back of, I can't tell what car that is. Chilton, maybe? It's hard to tell.
I think that's Marco, perhaps, his teammate. I see the white engine cover, and I think, guys, one of the things that you have to look is Veach is the biggest mover of the race, up 9 positions. Marco Andretti up 7. I think this right here is where it gets really dodgy. That is Will Power going past Charlie Kimball to put him another lap down, and Kimball has got to be so paranoid to get back into the groove because all this tire degradation, we're doing laps in the 23-second range. All the rubber that gets worn off goes only one place, Paul, to the high side of the track. Everybody's running a very narrow groove, so you have to be super careful if you're on the high side, being passed or making a pass.
Charlie has his teammate from Carlin Racing right behind him. There is Max Chilton. Both drivers are just one lap down because Kimball got back on the lead lap on a different pit sequence to what the front runners did. So that move you saw just there just put Charlie down the 1 lap. As it's Power, Newgarden, Wickens. That hasn't changed up front. 2 Penske's, then the Schmidt-Peterson machine, then Ryan Hunter-Reay, then James Hinchcliffe. That's the way the top 5 works at the moment. But Will Power is looking strong.
He's now picking his way through this lap traffic. Spencer Pigot right in front of him. Gabi Chavez right in front of Spencer. So it looks right now to me, Townsend, that he's got the best car in traffic of anybody. He's popped out to make a move.
And guys, imagine the behind-the-wheel strategy and the strategy on the pit stand as well. Townsend, behind the wheel, you're feeling those tires are completely gone at this point, and you're wanting to come to pit road right now like all of these drivers. The track has gone through a swing. All the drivers talking about how there's no grip on the racetrack, and these tires are gone, but you want to stay out as long as you can, maybe to lap 120, but I think some guys are going to start coming now, like Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Here comes Hunter-Reay. Nobody wants to pit early, though, to be vulnerable to a yellow flag. Hunter-Reay's the first.
And it's been a strong run for Ryan Hunter-Reay, who was one of those very uncertain what was going to be available and how the car would perform. But it's to his liking so far. You see a little bit of a front wing change, and they had to go back up with a problem on the right rear. So losing precious track position under green that time.
Be interesting to see if Hunter Ray can make any moves in traffic. Now a lap down, close to 2 laps down. Here comes Hinchcliffe.
Also a very strong run going for James Hinchcliffe, who has been trying to get the car settled in. He said last night, I think we found what we like. Sunoco fuel for James Hinchcliffe and fresh Firestones. We'll see if there's any kind of a front wing adjustment, and they will not make one. Hinchcliffe is back out.
There is Ed Carpenter in the Fuzzy's Vodka Chevrolet, serviced and sent. Here comes Robert Wickens, the second Schmidt-Peterson car, after running third for a good portion of laps behind the Penske pair of Will Power, Josef Newgarden.
And what a story this has been. One thing to run on the street course that he's more familiar with. First oval for Robert Wickens, and his second pit stop of the night is a clean one. Wickens is back out, Marty.
You see the 2016 winner at Phoenix, Kevin, coming down pit road. Scott Dixon, Mike Hull making the call here because pit road very clean here for Dixon, who's one of the many drivers who said there's just absolutely no grip. The longer you run on these tires, you're going to see an air pressure and a large wing adjustment for Scott Dixon, Katie.
And Kyle Kaiser making just the second stop of his Verizon IndyCar Series career, and he stalls the car, but he is off and down away again. As we see Ed Jones also making his stop there. Looks like he also has a slow one. His team guys have to get him off pit lane. And Marco Andretti also making his stop. He was screaming over the radio that he was unhappy with the car. Brian Herta, his strategist, reminding him this stint was much longer than the first one, but they gave him some added tire pressure to fix his problems. As we also see Spencer Pigot making his stop there as they fill him all the way up with Sunoco fuel and a little bit of a longer stop, Lee.
Katie, thank you. And here is Matthias Laced for AJ Foyt Racing, the 19-year-old Brazilian rookie. Been a steep learning curve, but so far so good.
And Lee, see Josef Newgarden coming in, first of the real top 5 cars coming in, and he said, I need a lot of front wing. He said, I just can't pass without that front wing. The track has gone through a dramatic swing, so they put more front wing in, a little bit of a push for Josef Newgarden in that one car. Oh, and a tire loose on pit road, Lee.
Oh no, just after we said so far so good, it is not for the rookie, Matthias Laced.
He's still in pit lane, so it looks like he lost the tire in the pit lane. Whoa, watch out for that guy. But he wants to get back around, but it looks like the tire came off and he spun out in the pit lane.
Left rear wheel nut, obviously not
close
secure
to his pit box, so he must have took off.
And the brutal part here is no yellow. It's on pit lane, they stay under green. I'm a little surprised they didn't throw it with that wheel going out on the racetrack and now rolling back down the banking, but this is brutal. He'll go several laps down.
Let's have a look what happened to the teenager. Watch that rear left. He said, no, no, no. It's not on.
Well, that was really no fault of his own. The nut was obviously not on the car. Somebody must have told him to go, but the guy in the back was saying, no, no, don't go. You really, Townsend, rely on, you're watching the guy in front of you.
Yeah, as a driver, you'll never hear or see somebody waving on the left rear. Here comes Pagano.
Coming down pit road, and you know what? When he fell out of that top 10 after that bad stop on the first stop of the day, they really couldn't get any progress at all. In fact, he said, I don't know what's gone on, but it was neutral in that first run, way too tight on that second run for Simon Pagano, who said he just couldn't gain any ground. A quick stop for the bunch, though, 8.3 on that stop for the 22 team.
Thinking about that loose tire out on the track, I really don't think, as we see Powers coming now, I really don't think they want to throw a yellow at this point because you'd have 3 or 4 guys a lap ahead.
Plus that wheel, as we watch Power, that wheel found its way to a safe area. So Power returns as the shuffle continues.
Whoa. Absolutely rocket up on the track. We look further back to see some of the other front runners that Power was running with. Here we're on board with Hinchcliffe. He's cycled back up to 3rd. Ahead are Rahal and Sato, but they still have to pit. So Hinchcliffe will be the leader when Rahal and Sato finally come in, which will be any moment now. Excellent job for Hinchcliffe and his teammate, the rookie, Robert Wickens. First green flag stop, and he's running second after this stop happens here with Sato.
Sato leaving his box. Nice clean stop. Rahal still on track as we see Sato leaving now. Rahal will be the last guy to pit.
How about Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports smoking the Penske's on a green flag pit stop? Here comes Rahal.
And Graham stretching out that stint just as long as he could. He did feel a bit of a vibration on that stop. We'll see if they make a wing change. No wing change, just fill it up with Sunoco fuel and fresh tires, Marty.
Hey, Katie, one interesting thing to note, you'll see all those Schmidt-Peterson cars, Hinchcliffe, Wickens, and also Ryan Hunter-Ray for Andretti. They pitted earlier, Townsend, so that's important to note because pitting earlier, they got on those fresh tires earlier, and they jumped Power, Newgarden, all of those guys because they got those fresh tires on sooner.
Excellent point. You're right. The lap time would be quicker, and they played it well. It's a little riskier to pit early. You leave yourself exposed to a yellow. If yellow comes out, you can pit under yellow. All these guys would be a lap down.
Like a rolling tire down the pit lane.
Yeah, exactly.
So these guys definitely got a lucky break that pitted early, because if the yellow would have came out, it really would have messed up the race, as we see Bourdais now coming in for his second pit stop.
A race that promised so much, and of course there's still so much more to come, but for Sebastian Bourdais, Marty, the story all went away.
Yeah, and that's a tough break for this team. And pitting, they were 11 seconds behind the leader. They'll likely go 2 laps down here when they do make this stop. There goes James Hinchcliffe by for the first time. We'll see where he cycles out, but this will likely put the man who sat on the pole today, Sebastian Bourdais, down 2 laps here at Phoenix.
How about what's going on up front? James Hinchcliffe first, Robert Wickens second. It's a Schmidt-Peterson 1-2. It is Team Canada, if you wish. The 2 drivers from Ontario, the 2 good friends. And up until recently, Wickens was actually staying at Hinchcliffe's house until he got his own place sorted out in Indianapolis.
And the first race of the season, this team was absolutely the measure of the field in terms of race pace. Wickens obviously with pole position, almost winning the thing in his first try. Hinchcliffe was very strong there, so it's been an amazing start to the season for this 2-car team.
I'll tell you the guy you got to watch right now that's just out of the picture screen here, the yellow car, which is about 2 car lengths behind. You watch Hunter-Ray, so he is moving forward again.
One of the big changes at Schmidt-Peterson this year for James Hinchcliffe, Lena Gard. Lena comes from the unbelievably successful Audi Sport operation in sports car racing, World Endurance, and Le Mans. She engineered a Le Mans winning car. She is an incredibly talented engineer, so much experience on a global level. She says, I'm so looking forward to learning all about IndyCar, and so far, Lena, the results are proving to be fantastic.
And don't forget, much like Wickens, Lena has never engineered a car on an oval. So this is her first oval engineering gig, and it's going fabulously.
So the mayor of Hinchtown is in the mayor's office at the moment, but a long way to go for the Canadian couple who are first and second. What a night for Schmidt-Peterson. You know, Indy cars have been racing here at ISM Raceway since the early 1960s. It is an integral part of IndyCar history, and it is a much-loved racing venue. And as you can see there are a lot of changes going on here. Just shy of $200 million have been invested to get this track into 2018 spec, if you want to call it that way. Pit road will be reconfigured. There's going to be 45,000 flip-down seats and full Wi-Fi capabilities throughout the facility. There is the total cost, but Brian Sperber, track president, and his staff have done a remarkable job, and they are well on target to be completed, fully done, in time for the NASCAR race in the fall, which you'll be able to see here on NBC Sports as we welcome you back under the lights. Lee Diffie, Paul Tracy, and Townsend Bell, along with Katie Hargett, Robin Miller, Kevin Lee, and Marty Snyder on pit road. And look at the comparison here on the green flag pit stops, the most recent round of stops between Hinchcliffe, Power, Newgarden. You know, a little bit of time there to be gained, but not a whole lot.
Here's what I think is going to happen, guys. Right around lap 170, we're going to find out who's going to gamble by stopping early and risking a yellow to take that quick pace that Hinchcliffe and Wickens had, and who's going to hang in there and try to gamble on a yellow. So we're about to find out how two totally different strategies play out.
The advantage that was gained by the Schmidt-Peterson team was pitting early, getting on fresh tires, and running laps in the high 20s when everybody else was running in the 23s.
Sure.
That's where they gained the advantage over 5 or 6 laps.
And I think every other team on pit lane is going to look at that, Marty, and say, you know what? I think we might do the same thing and run the risk of a yellow. They're probably going to go for that track position as soon as it's available.
Believe me, there's a lot of calculation going on down here. So they pitted about 10 laps earlier than the leaders did. It was a 4-second flip in those 10 laps. So they flipped the track position and put themselves out front, but everyone else has now noted that. So how early do you push it? That's the big key of what everybody's trying to figure out down here.
James Hinchcliffe just got high, and his rookie teammate sliced right underneath of him and took advantage of that.
Robert Wickens led the most laps at St. Petersburg a month ago, and now in his very first oval race in an IndyCar, he leads the Phoenix Grand Prix.
Not only does he lead, he's pulling away. This is unprecedented for a rookie to show up totally green on oval racing like this and be racing to the front and now making moves on his much more experienced teammate and guys like Ryan Hunter-Reay, who's up to third.
He had a goal of saying, he said, if I could just finish in the top 10 at the end of the night, that will be great. Now that's what happened there. James Hinchcliffe got balked by Gabby Chavez in the Harding Group car, and that enabled Robert Wickens to slide on by.
I tell you what, he timed that perfectly. That was using the traffic to your advantage, and that's an experienced move right there by Wickens.
Well, now we get to see what does Wickens do with Gabby Chavez. Wickens now in the exact same position, and that just shows you how risky it can be to try to make something happen here and have to check up and lose all the momentum.
And I'll tell you what, Gabby will not be an easy guy to get a lap down because he's got some old school players running his team. We got to let the guys know who's running that team over there, Townsend.
Katie, what you got?
I have found Pietro Fittipaldi, Lee, and he is the lone driver that is out of tonight's race, unfortunately. Pietro, what happened?
Yeah, it was unfortunate, really. You know, we're having a good race. The car was really good. We're running 11th, right behind Ed. We got stuck in traffic a little bit. We got past traffic, and then we had a gap to the group of cars ahead. Started catching the group of cars. As soon as we got really close, you know, I sort of just went into 3 and 4, and it was the first lap that we were really close behind like 10 cars, and just completely lost grip as soon as we got behind them, and the car slid up a bit on the marbles. As soon as it went up on the marbles, we couldn't get back, and it just went straight in the wall. So it was unfortunate. You know, the goal was to do the whole race, and I'm sure we could have finished in the top 10, but you know, I have to learn from this and just move forward into the Indy road course.
All right, thanks, Pietro. And as he was talking, we saw a little bit of trouble with Will Power. Kevin?
Yeah, he said he hit the wall hard. Roger Penske was saying how bad. He said it's broken before. I'm told he was blaming Alexander Rossi, so go back and look for that as he was trying to make his way through traffic. So Power had a chance to potentially win. He certainly was strong, and now his night might be over. Let's watch and see. Yeah, there's Alexander Rossi right behind him, guys. I'll let you talk us through this.
Well, Rossi making a very clean move to the inside. Nothing to blame there, Paul. Just a clean pass. The problem is, so dirty offline. Power's just a passenger here. No steering reaction at all when the track's dirty like that, and he just goes up and probably severely bends the right rear toe link. Pretty good hit.
Yeah, hard to put any blame on Rossi for that. That was just a nice pass. His handling must have been going away if Rossi was that much quicker than him. But this, look at
Wickens.
Wickens slices down the inside.
There you go. Good job, bud.
Making a move on Kyle Kaiser. And Robert Wickens is a fast learner, taking everything he figured out in the first 100 laps, and now he's going to show you how the next 100 are going to play out to his advantage. He is schooling the field.
He's got a 1.3 second lead, which is about as big as anybody's had all night, as we see Power's car now getting rolled away. They might roll that behind the wall, maybe try to fix it, which is normally Penske's style, but we'll have to wait and see if he comes back out again.
But how quickly is time running out, guys? There's only 92 laps to run. This is flowing by. And Robert Wickens, the driver who told Townsend and I yesterday, my engineers talked to me about stagger and cross weights, and he said, oh, no, all that's new to me. He said, I just get in and drive. He said, I understand driving. Well, he understands driving better than most. Robert Wickens leads this field in his very first IndyCar oval race. What a performance. A reminder that on Wednesday nights, it's going to be a wild ride as Dale Earnhardt Jr. joins NASCAR America Wednesdays with Dale Jr. That's Wednesday night at 5 o'clock Eastern right here on NBCSN. NASCAR America. It's great to have Junior part of the family.
Terrific. Such a great storyteller. So much knowledge. So passionate about all forms of motorsport. Very, very cool.
So, if you're just joining us and you want to know some of the big stories of tonight, well, we have to go back to St. Petersburg a month ago to remind you about what happened to Will Power of Team Penske. This is what happened on the opening lap. Had hard side-to-side contact with pole sitter and race leader Robert Wickens, recovered to come back. However, tonight, he is in trouble again after contacting the wall, and the Team Penske group are trying to work his way, work the car out and work his way back onto the track. But only 82 laps left to run here in Phoenix. Looking out the back of James Hinchcliffe's Honda, with thanks to Lucas Oil, looking at Ryan Hunter-Reay.
And speaking of Honda, think back a year ago, guys, to when Honda's Aero Kit just was not competitive here at Phoenix. Now Hondas are first through fourth, looking very strong. So they have really benefited with the Universal Aero Kit situation. And it's just fantastic to watch two Canadians, Paul, going for it here at the front, first and second right now.
Absolutely. A guy who's been quiet all night is Jones. He's up to fourth. So Honda's 1 through 4.
Who wins this race is going to be the 500th victory for Firestone boys since 1995. Now think about this. They got out of racing after 1974 IndyCar racing, came back 20 years later. Scott Pruitt spent 1994 being the tire tester. He won the first race for Firestone in Michigan with a last lap pass of Al Unser, and they dominated kart and then IRL racing. Paul Tracy was on the Goodyear side, and good old Goodyear. Tell me what the difference was, PT, the first time you drove a Firestone tire compared to the Goodyears.
Well, I mean, Firestone, Goodyear did a good job for the series for a long, long time. But once they had competition, the Japanese came in with Bridgestone, Firestone. Just the level of grip and the longevity of the tire was superior to Goodyear at that time, and they basically kind of forced Goodyear out of the series.
Right on board with Zach Veach. He did a good job to help out his teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay, who's on the lead lap. Veach a lap down, letting Hunter-Reay get by and go try to attack those two SPM cars, Wickens and Hinchcliffe, that run 1-2.
Hinchcliffe is coming back now. He's clawed his teammate back. He's got some lapped cars in front of him here, but the first 4 guys now, you can throw a blanket over them. And the guy who's actually been the fastest on track that we don't see anymore is Rossi. He has unlapped himself, and he has taken off from this whole group of cars. So the fastest guy on track is this guy right here. If we get another yellow, he's going to be back in the mix.
This is how he did it. Watch the car zipping by the inside.
You can hear Hinchcliffe struggling for power down.
Inside. Clear.
Hinchcliffe struggling for traction. Rossi worked the low side. Now we're on board with Zach Veach looking backwards at Robert Wiggins, and there goes Rossi.
And there was 3 more lapped cars in front of him. He's passed all of those guys and gone. Now we got a car on the wall.
That's Kyle Kaiser, the Junkos Racing entry.
Another car on the wall, no yellow.
I'll tell you, in years gone by, that yellow probably be out right now.
Ooh, it might be shortly.
Oh, 2 cars very close.
So, Takuma Sato and Sebastian Bourdais side by side. Bourdais will prevail. This is Ed Jones running in a fine 4th for Chip Ganassi Racing in the NTT Data car.
That could be a huge move for Ed Jones if he gets out in clean air on fresh tires. As you see Charlie Kimball trying to hang on as he gets pushed up the high side. Ed Jones could make quick time and make up a big gap. Here comes Hinchcliffe.
And guys, Josef Newgarden coming down pit road here. Tim Cindric making the call to bring him down. Remember, they were one of the later ones to pit early on this window. He said, I cannot get the front to work. He said, I don't know what's happened, but I need a full turn of wing, Kevin. We'll see if this is an advantage to get these tires on early.
Here comes James Hinchcliffe. Should be the last stop of the race. And he has been battling his teammate. They have battled throughout the years, but they said as he almost locks him up there, they have never come together. Never crashed in go-karts, never crashed in Atlantics. They might be fighting for a win tonight. Crucial last stop for Hinchcliffe. He's back out as we watch his teammate Wickens coming down pit road. 50 miles per hour. Robert Wickens in his first oval race of his life. He's been in front. These in and out laps are going to be critical. And now he also, along with James Hinchcliffe and others, needed to stay green until the rest of the field pits. 4 Firestones. Any changes? He said he wasn't sure if he wanted anything. The car was struggling a little bit in traffic, but it's much better when it's out front. That's the way it's been for him lately.
On screen, Andretti Autosport teammates Marco Andretti in that throwback paint scheme, celebrating his grandfather's last IndyCar win here 25 years ago.
And Hunter Ray is now the leader, but he's got his teammate he's trying to lap. He needs clear traffic if he's going to get any advantage, because we know, Townsend, that the fresh tires are a huge advantage, and these guys are in traffic, so Hunter Ray needs some clear laps.
Yeah, this is huge for Hinchcliffe to have clean air on fresh tires and make up the gap. Hunter Ray, like you said, is going to struggle here behind Marco. I think they need to get Hunter Ray to pit lane quickly.
Or get Marco to move over and let him go by, as he's doing right there. That's a good call by the team as he peels off for the pit lane. He needs to rip off a couple of clear laps here because those other guys are in traffic. So he's got a wide open road. He's got to put the hammer down right now.
69 laps to go around ISM Raceway. One more stop can do it. We'll see.
We'll watch the lap times here as he comes around. He's on the back straight. Oh, he's coming in.
So we'll see where everybody cycles out here. This in-lap right here, so critical and so tricky. You lose all the banking. You can see the car wiggle around as you have to get it woed up for pit lane speed.
Be your weight checker here.
That's Ray Gosselin, the engineer and strategist, talking him in as Pagenaud goes by to take the lead for now. So those that have just pitted are very likely to be able to make it on fuel. Might have to be able to save a little bit, but the big question is going to be, can the Firestones last the rest of the way? No guarantee that that was the last stop for those. So people like Hunter Ray that waited a little bit longer in better shape. Could this be a winning pit stop for Ryan Hunter Ray? Slight wing adjustment, back out.
Well, we're going to see here, these guys are going to be coming around. There goes Wickens, and there goes Hinchcliffe. They go by, so they're going to have a half the back straightaway on him by the time he gets back up to speed.
You know who's going to be leading here is Newgarden, it looks like, and Ed Jones has gone all the way up to just behind Newgarden. So that move of pitting early, like we talked about, huge payoff for the young Ganassi driver. We said he needed a big moment, and now he's going to be in the catbird seat.
Ed Jones right now is the effective leader once the pit stops.
No, it's going to be Newgarden.
Newgarden stop. Just after speaking of stopping, here is Simon Pagenaud pitting from the lead as it continues to cycle through.
And guys, I believe it's going to be Newgarden who's going to be in the lead. Tim Cindric said, hey, we're going to be in the lead. We just need to save a little bit of fuel here. His teammate Simon Pagenaud coming down pit road. Kyle Moore making the interesting call to stay out a little bit longer. He told him, I want you to run as hard as you can. A lot of understeer when they're in traffic, so they were taking advantage of that clean air and a longer stop. 8-6 on the stop for the 22 team. We'll see where he cycles out when he goes back out on the track.
He's going to cycle well down the field. Back up front, there's Robert Wickens chasing Ed Jones in the blue NTT car. And where is Pagenaud? He is well down, showing in 12th right now.
We talked to a lot of guys. We'll see Graham Rahal come in. We watch to see if they make a wing change. It's a 1/4 of a degree of front wing when these guys make a change. So that's how sensitive these cars are. When you make a one half of a turn on the front wing, it's only a 1/4 of a degree.
Alexander Rossi, the story of the second half of that run. You guys mentioned it. Put himself back on the lap, on the lead lap, and look at that stop. 7-4 on what could be the last stop of the night for this 2017. He was down a lap early on. He has fought his way back on the lead lap. And this is the guy, Lee, who brushed the wall at lap 139. He's got a rocket ship. We'll see where he cycles out here and if he can contend for the win.
It was a beautiful display of just calming himself down, refocusing, regrouping, and got on with it better than anybody else on the track. He was flying. On board with Simon Pagenaud.
He's been battling with Pagenaud all night from the start of the race. These guys seem to be tied to each other. So
now the leader shows Sebastian Bourdais, but he still has to make his final pit stop. They're hanging on to see if they get a yellow to stay on the lead lap. Bourdais' team, as we ride on board with Pagenaud. But once Bourdais stops, Newgarden will go to the lead, and there they are. There's Bourdais in the black and neon yellow. Newgarden in the silver Verizon car.
Newgarden had trouble after trouble here last year with broken bits of bodywork and wing, and it was a frustrating night. He finished, his best result here is 6th. Josef Newgarden, the reigning series champion, never been on the podium, so could that all change here tonight, and could he get his title defense going big time here in Arizona? Racing under the lights in the Verizon IndyCar Series as we welcome you back with just 51 laps to go. Pole sitter Sebastian Bourdais in his Dale Coyne with Vassar and Sullivan racing car leading the way, but still needs to stop one more time. What the night promised so much for both Sebastian Bourdais and Alexander Rossi until the opening round of pit stops.
And what Bourdais is showing right now is the qualifying pace was no fluke, as Alexander Rossi makes a move again on his teammate Marco Andretti. I'm sure Marco helping a bit. Rossi is flying right now, Paul.
He is absolutely flying. He's been ripping off laps that are half a second to 3/4 of a second faster than the rest of the field. But right now, he's in 10th. He needs a yellow if he's going to get in contention and pack everybody up.
The guy who really needs a yellow is Sebastian Bourdais. He doesn't want to have to stop under green flag conditions or he'll go again a lap down. Let's review again what happened to Sebastian Bourdais earlier on pit lane.
Sebastian Bourdais, just a tiny lockup on the concrete. He hits his crew guy. His radio guy comes on. Craig Hansen says, everybody calm down. Get the tire off, nice and careful. But here, same thing, lock up on the way in, but it was worse for him because he was pinned up against the wall.
Both drivers had to perform a drive-through penalty, and that's what put them in the catch-up mode. But the best at catching up has been Alexander Rossi. He's now starting to zero in on Ed Carpenter for 9th.
And Lee, I don't think we can emphasize enough that he had put himself back on the lead lap by driving there. He drove past the leaders to get himself back on the lead lap. You can almost hear the determination in his voice. And Townsend, you said in the pre-race show, the apprenticeship is over for Alexander Rossi. And you know what? I asked him about that. He said, you know what? Townsend's right. He said, we've talked about it long enough. It's time for me to prove it. You can see the determination for that young man. Right now, Sebastian Bourdais laying out on pit road. He'll be down in a moment for what they think could be the final stop of the day. But Alexander Rossi, an impressive second half of this race.
I'll tell you what, it wasn't 50 laps ago that he was 22 seconds behind, a lap down, and now he's only 6 seconds behind the leader of Bourdais. So he's made up all that time in pure driving and speed. So right now, he is by far the fastest guy on the track. It's easy work of this car.
Look at that, that's Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, easy work.
Blows by Tony Kanaan, and I can only think that bobble we saw earlier in the race when Rossi, if you remember, got below the yellow line, I can almost see him flirting with that yellow line to his advantage to get the car to turn in traffic. Here comes Sebastian Bourdais, and unfortunately, it has to be a green flag stop. He needs the fuel.
Yeah, they were hoping for that caution to come out. Did not come out for Sebastian Bourdais, who's been quick, not quite as quick as Alexander Rossi, but you see him making the wing adjustment, just a little bit too much push in that car for the 18. They're going to go down a lap here for sure, but the caution didn't come out when they were hoping for it.
And for the various things that have happened tonight, only one caution as Alexander Rossi comes up alongside Ryan Hunter-Reay, his teammate. There is no stopping Rossi.
Look at the speed going into the corner. So he's by him, and now his next guy in line is four-time champion Scott Dixon. Let's see how fast he can make it by him. But
it's one thing to say the apprenticeship is over. It's another to show it to the veteran teammate Hunter-Reay. Alexander Rossi, goodbye, he's gone.
Guys, that was his 52nd on-track pass. He has done more than anybody tonight. How about that? He has been weaving his way through the field. Amazing. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Honda, an official vehicle of the Verizon IndyCar Series, and by OneCure.com. Join us as we race to cure cancer in our best friends and ourselves. What a wonderful display of some of Mario Andretti's old Indy cars. And of course, that is reflecting the celebratory nature of this weekend, 25th anniversary of Mario's last IndyCar win, which occurred right here at ISM Speedway. Welcome back, folks. Lee Diffie along with Townsend Bell and Paul Tracy. Just 32 to go on an eventful evening in the desert. Who's going to win this one, Marty?
Well, Tim Cindric hopes it's himself and Josef Newgarden. I know you told Josef a moment ago, Tim, save some fuel. Has he saved enough at this point?
We haven't saved enough to go full blast, but we've saved enough to go to the end. But it's just going to depend on what these other guys do.
How about the fast car behind you, Alexander Rossi? Kind of keeping an eye on him as well?
Yeah, he was certainly quick there. He pitted probably, I don't know, 13 laps after we did. And his tires were quite a bit better, but he seems to have stalled out a little bit. But hopefully got enough gap to him.
There you go, Tim Cindric, thinking if it stays green, they should be in good shape, Katie.
And Marty, Chip Ganassi's newest driver, Ed Jones, is running in second, beating out his much more experienced teammate, Scott Dixon. What's the word over the radio to Ed right now, Chip?
Yeah, just a matter of hitting his marks. You know, he's had a pretty much a trouble-free night. Just trying to keep his, keep him hitting his marks. He's doing a great job.
How important was it in his position right now for you to pit him so early in the stint?
Well, we were just looking at tire degradation, what the other guys were doing. It seemed like to be, it was really a matter of getting him out in the open, in the clear from the stop. We didn't want to put him in traffic.
And his teammate Scott Dixon behind him in fifth, Kevin.
Piers Phillips is the general manager for Schmidt-Peterson. Their cars run third and fourth, and he's calling Robert Wickens' first oval race. I know you're good on fuel. What about tires? Will they last to the end?
That's the great unknown. We're hoping so. It's going to be a long stint, but we're just trying to look after the car and get it to the finish now.
You told me that watch out for this team in the second half of the season. Are you guys already performing above expectations this soon with so many changes?
It's early days, but it's looking pretty good.
It is looking good.
I like the smile at the end from Piers Phillips. It certainly is looking good for Schmidt-Peterson. It's looking even better for Team Penske and Josef Newgarden at the moment. We've still got 26 to go, though. Just when it was looking so good for Chip Ganassi Racing's Ed Jones in his second full season in IndyCar, the driver from Dubai has walled it. Chip was just telling our Katie Hargett, keep it steady, hit your marks, nothing fancy. I wonder what went wrong.
Pretty uncharacteristic of him. Last year he was so smooth and clean and never really put a foot wrong all year. And wait to see the replay here. He's way up high. He just missed his entry and was way up in the gray. And
well, we don't know.
He was a passenger.
That was Spencer Pigot 2 laps down. And we were told that Newgarden and Tim Cindric were asking for blue flags. So I wonder, there's more to the story, I think, guys, when a guy that's running second that hasn't made a mistake all night is behind a car 2 laps down. And this is really the issue. All these little marbles you see everywhere that build up offline. And if you're slightly off trying to get by a slower car, the results can be very costly.
That NTT data car was flying tonight. Jones had done a really nice job. Talking about a 23-year-old who finished third in his first Indianapolis 500. The kid can drive on ovals. He's a very tidy, smart driver, but it all went away from him tonight.
Well, we got a Saturday night shootout, boys. We got pit stops, we got fresh tires, we got low fuel. Here we go.
Folks, I wish I had a camera in the booth here to see Paul Tracy. He literally was just rubbing his hands together. He wants a helmet and a driver suit.
Here's the question. Who goes to pit lane?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to go, but I think Bourdais going to stay out.
Newgarden's not going. I don't think Wickens is going to go. I think if you look back at Hunter Ray, Kanaan.
There we go.
There you go.
Wickens stays out. Wickens stays out.
Rossi's now third.
I'm surprised Newgarden did that. There's a lot of cars to pass now for Newgarden.
What do you make of this, Marty?
Tim Cindric had no hesitation. He said this is going to be a good old-fashioned Saturday night shootout for 13 laps. So fresh tires for Josef Newgarden. No changes on the car. Very happy with it. 6-1 on the stop.
Think back to Iowa, fresh tires. Think back to Texas, fresh tires. As we see Wickens now laid out with his fresh tires.
This is a different kind of racetrack, though, Paul. Not that easy to go side by side as Hunter Ray races Dixon for position. Dixon beats him.
Sato and Pagano and Rahal.
And there was a lot of debate from different teams, including the Schmidt-Peterson teams. We saw the tires out for Robert Wickens, but they decided to stay out. Listening to James Hinchcliffe, they thought about it. He said, I don't want to give up the track position because I'm not even sure if you can use that high line with fresh tires, so I want the track position. Hunter Ray was one of those that came in. They went back and forth last second, did decide to come in. This is going to be fun for the finish.
Maybe the message needs to go out. Don't worry about the high line because Alexander Rossi's been doing all of his passing on the inside.
I don't agree with what Hinchcliffe's doing here, and Wickens. Don't warm your tires. There's stuff all over the track. The last thing you want is any pickup. The track temperature is 95 degrees. There's no problem with tire temp. Don't get the tires dirty. Going back to see what happened with Spencer Pigot, like we talked about. There's the blue flag. Newgarden gets by. The next car up was Ed Jones. Not blaming Pigot. We don't know what happened with the Jones incident, but
I'd like to see that earlier.
That's going into 1, and he crashed in 3 and 4. So here's a radio on Hinch.
Let's have a listen.
All right, bud, so what's your feeling here on these tires?
I don't know, man. It's still a one-groove racetrack. Tough to know. If we were at Iowa, it would be a no-brainer. By the time we clean this up, it's going to be 10 to go. I don't think we've got enough time to get through 11 cars.
Well,
I agree with that.
You can't pit now. It's too late to do that. He's locked into what he's doing, but the guy who's not locked in is the guys that pitted Newgarden. He's in 4th place on brand new tires. I don't know, man. I think Rossi's so strong that he could get a win, but Newgarden isn't going to line up in 4th on brand new tires.
Oh, this is going to be fun. This is really going to be fun under the lights here in Phoenix as we give you a Chevrolet driver update on who is where. Take a look. Perhaps your favorite driver is on the list.
Check this out. Second race, Wickens leading, Rossi third. What's going to happen between those two if Rossi's able to get to the tail of Robert Wickens after very controversial contact at the end of the last race?
Well, I can tell you from speaking with him that there is a little bit of tension that still bubbles with Robert Wickens. He got an apology from Alexander Rossi for what went down in Florida at St. Petersburg, but publicly Rossi said, well, I'd do it again, and he didn't kind of reflect that same thing. This is according to Wickens. So I don't think there'll be any favors given there for sure. Marty?
Let's chat with Rob Edwards, the man calling the shots for Alexander Rossi. What was the decision to stay out for?
We think we've been better than most people on used tires tonight. There are only going to be 10 laps or so to go when when it goes green here. We haven't seen that much degradation for Alexander's car. We felt we were better to stay.
How aggressive do you expect him to be to hold off those new tires?
I think it's going to be fun.
I think that's an understatement, right? Going to be fun with all those fresh tires right behind the top 3.
And guess what makes this extra interesting? Guess where Rob Edwards came from before he was at Andretti? Schmidt-Peterson. So let's rewind and remind. So Robert Wickens gets his very first Verizon IndyCar P1 award from the pole, dominates the race, only to have this happen on the last restart of the race. Rossi with an ambitious move up the inside, clouts Wickens, puts him in the wall. Rossi prevails to stand on the podium. Wickens ends his day there way down in the teens, 18th I think it was. So, as the laps wind down, getting ready to go back to racing, Wickens and Hinchcliffe, the two Canadians for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, lead the way. Alexander Rossi for Andretti Autosport in third. Josef Newgarden, the first with fresh tires. Wow.
And for Josef Newgarden, a big break about to come, a great rule with IndyCar. We're inside 15 laps to go, so when they're ready, what IndyCar will do is open up pit lane, and the lap cars will drive down pit lane so that the lead lap cars can duke it out without any traffic.
Saturday night shootout, here we go.
Where do you want to be, PT? You want to be those?
I like Rossi all night. He's been the fastest guy on track through the whole stint, but I just gotta think that fresh tires have got to be an advantage right now.
By the way, the Tag Heuer fastest lap of the race, which incidentally happened on lap 2, goes to Sebastian Bourdais, the driver on screen.
Here's the question for me. How clean is the racetrack? You see the sweepers working. How clean can they get the racetrack? If the racetrack is clean enough, Newgarden's got a real shot on fresh tires because he can get up high without the risk of the marbles. There you see the sweepers working as quickly, as fast as they can. And the question also will be how many laps to go before IndyCar decides to pull them off. Look at all the marbles still up here. It's a mess up here. And if Newgarden has to go there, even on fresh tires, it won't matter. There won't be any grip.
Lapped cars are coming through. They're in the pits to get to the back of the field. So we've got one more lap now until we're going green. So.
Hey, Townsend, real quick, I want to ask you for Alexander Rossi. We've talked about focus. He's been all night long. He told the team a moment ago, just like St. Pete, my left foot has fallen asleep and my right foot has been on fire all night long. I'm pretty sure that boot is melted. So how much of a distraction is that? So 10 laps to go, probably not very much, right?
Well, it's something you think about under caution for sure, but once the green flag goes, his body will magically fix itself. He won't feel a thing in terms of pain or discomfort, I'm guessing. I wonder if that's just from the car bottoming all night, that the heat has come through the skid plate on a hot night in Phoenix, and he's feeling it through the tub.
Hey, metaphorically, his right foot has been on fire.
It certainly has.
For sure, his right foot's been on fire. So this one to go now at the line. The guys are warming their tires. Those pace car lights here are going to go out any second.
I think it's going to be tough for Newgarden. We'll see. I'm not sure the track's fully clean enough, but he'll give it everything he has.
Hey, PT, your old friend, our friend, Oriol Servia is behind the wheel of the pace car and will be at various events throughout the year, in addition to coaching Pietro Fittipaldi, in addition to racing the Indianapolis 500. There's Oriol.
There he is.
Looking very focused.
So ready to go. Will this be the final restart of the night? 8 to go.
You know what they say, yellows breed yellows. We see it all the time. So guys are going to get super racy, super aggressive on fresh tires, and guys at the front here on the old tires are going to be hanging on. Look at Newgarden right up behind the back of Rossi.
Is this history repeating itself? Late race restart, Robert Wickens in front.
Yep.
With everybody chasing.
Look at the brakes glowing.
It's the two teammates, 1 and 2, with the hard-charging Alexander Rossi and the freshly tired Josef Newgarden in 4th, ready to go. Green flies. Will it be a Wickens victory this time round?
Rossi goes low to defend on Newgarden, but there's no chance. Look at Newgarden going around the outside of 2 cars in one corner.
There's the answer.
Telling you, fresh tires are king, but now he's got to focus. He's got to focus on the car in front, and he's got to get it done here in the first couple laps. Take advantage. Big run coming off the corner.
Robert Wickens in his first oval race, racing for the win up against the reigning series champion.
That is a terrific first lap for Robert Wickens on used tires with pickup.
Another big run.
Here comes Josef.
Big risk for Newgarden to stay up high like that. Will it be enough for Wickens to hold him off? 6 laps to go.
And he's being very decisive about where he's placing his car.
Super smart. If he does that every lap, Newgarden might not have a chance. There goes Newgarden now.
You won't find a guy braver than Newgarden. Remember, the move he made on Pagano, he's not afraid to bang wheels.
And this is heads-up driving from Robert Wickens. First time on an oval.
Hinchcliffe has disappeared. Rossi is now up to third. Oh, big move on the outside.
There you go. Reigning series champion takes the lead and takes off.
And now he's going to disappear on that fresh set of Firestones. Josef Newgarden, and now Hinchcliffe's under pressure from Ed Carpenter.
Good run for Ed in his first drive in 2018, putting the pressure on for a top 6 result. Meanwhile, here goes Carpenter, tried it. Hinchcliffe taking the defensive line. Almost the end of the Phoenix Grand Prix, and there's positions up for grabs. Here comes Kanan, goes high. Carpenter blocks slightly. He wants to keep that position.
Both these SPM cars struggling to hold off the fresh tires of all of the other cars on the lead lap. And can Hinchcliffe hang on for a top 6?
Newgarden has now checked out. He's got a 2-second lead. Wickens only has 0.2 of a second over Rossi. Rossi is all over the back.
1 to go for Josef Newgarden. He's never been on the podium here, and he's less than a mile away from winning.
Scott Dixon now entering the fold. Dixon in 4th, but he's on fresh tires.
Rossi trying to get back-to-back podiums. What a night it's been under the lights here in Phoenix. with a late race restart, fresh tyres. Josef Newgarden wins in Phoenix for the first time in his career. Robert Wickens at his first oval race gets on the podium, and so too does Alexander Rossi.
Wow, that was close for 6. Who got it? Hinchcliffe over Carpenter by just a nose.
And that's why he carries the number 1.
Yeah,
right there.
Look at that. Josef Newgarden, Tim Cindric, driving and strategy and execution all come together.
But it didn't come easy. It wasn't just the new tire call, it was the Newgarden move. Very bold on the outside going into turn 1 to pull it off. He had the sense of urgency. He knew he needed to get it done early, and he made it happen.
Well, and that is back-to-back oval victories for Josef as well, because the last oval last year was Gateway, and he won with that unbelievable move on Simon Pagenaud. This is the move for the lead and the win on Robert Wickens.
And he knows it's a very narrow window to navigate into the groove going into turn 1. He knows the marbles are still up there.
Wickens knew from St. Pete, I have to protect the inside, but on an oval, you can get the big momentum run around the outside. It didn't work here.
Good point.
Let's get to Marty.
Let's chat with Tim Cindric. Any question in your mind to come get those new tires there, Tim?
Yeah, it's never easy when you're the leader there, but you know, Newgarden, I knew he was going to put his foot in it there at the end, and it was all driver there toward the end. But you never know. I mean, if it goes caution, then we look like idiots. But at the end of the day, the pit crew did a great job all night long. I can't say enough about these guys. So yeah, first one of the year. It's good.
You said all driver. He said it was all crew.
It was a team effort.
There you go. They get back to victory lane in Phoenix. Josef Newgarden celebrating, and Tim Cindric said, "Hey, you know the victory lane, Newgarden? No, the way to victory lane." Newgarden said, "I'll find it. Don't worry."
Yeah, that's his first win here in Phoenix. Tremendous. Third win in his career on an oval. And Rossi says, oh, look at this. This is good sportsmanship. Alexander Rossi going over to congratulate Robert Wickens, where there was so much spoken about from St. Petersburg in Florida, and that is good sportsmanship. Well done, Alexander Rossi. Robert Wickens, decisive driving from Wickens at the end there, knowing that he was on old tires, knowing that Newgarden was coming, and again, in his first oval race.
And all I can think of, what a season we're in for. This 2018 Verizon IndyCar season is just going to be spectacular with guys like Wickens firmly in the fold. Alexander Rossi, Penske will be strong all year. Ganassi looking strong now.
We were worried at the beginning we weren't going to have much of a race, but I mean, guys like Rossi, Newgarden, they put on a show tonight with some passing.
And to your point, for the rest of the season, it's on.
It is most definitely on. Look at these two. There's a smile out of Wickens. He's thrilled. He should be.
That'll help mend the bridges there a lot. By the way, one of the big changes here at ISM Raceway, this Gatorade Victory Lane, there's substantial changes happening after tonight. All of the demolition goes into full effect tomorrow, and there will be a much improved Gatorade Victory Lane where the fans can really get up close to their heroes. But this is all about Josef Newgarden in his title defense.
Lee, I think we can call him Mr. Short Oval now, winning the last two after that impressive move at St. Louis. He makes an impressive move tonight here at Phoenix on the outside to be able to get that win. I got to know, how confident were you with 7 to go that those new tires would make the difference?
Well, I was confident in the team. I don't think I did anything tonight. I mean, this was a team victory. They gave me the pit stops. They had the strategy. I was working with rocket scientists on the pit stand. Those guys are awesome. But it was team effort, so I wasn't sure. You never know if you make the right call, but they did. They made the right call. It was good we were on the offense. That Firestone rubber is really good when it's new. It's good when it's old too, but I like it better when it's new. So it's really cool to have Verizon on the car for Victory Lane here. Just everyone, all our supporters. Tim, he's making calls. So it's a good night for all of us at Team Penske.
How about that move on the outside? You told me before the race the game had changed. You don't have to be aggressive at short ovals. Was it aggressiveness or patience not to make the move too early that got you the win?
Well, I was patient all night. I mean, I wasn't forcing it. I struggled with the balance in certain parts of the stints. We were just working on the car. The engineers were doing a really good job getting it back. And then I knew when it was time to be aggressive was at the end there. And I just kept trying to understand what Wickens was doing. And I was a little bit nervous about going high there in T1 just because the marbles were building. you don't want to make a mistake going on the outside, but I had to do that. He was defending the inside, and it worked out perfect. So I'm telling you, it's all down to Team Penske tonight. I didn't do anything.
When you look at your 2017, a lot of the success was in the second half of the season. So to defend the championship, how key to win this early in race number 2?
Well, I mean, we got one today. You know, we had a great car. I don't know that I was able to drive it to a victory tonight. I didn't feel like I felt like a podium contender. It was probably more on me. I just couldn't get the balance out of the car. But when you can win on a night like that, that shows the strength of the team. And if we can keep doing that, capitalizing on nights like this, we're going to be just fine for 2018.
As he's been saying for a few weeks, he wants to defend the one. It's a good start there, isn't it, Kevin, to come to victory lane here at Phoenix?
Oh, what a show here tonight that Josef Newgarden, Robbie Wickens, and so many others put on. Very first oval, you almost won it. What are the emotions after this? That close to a win, but still finishing second.
To be honest, I was never expecting to win. I mean, when I found out that only 3 of us stayed out, I was just ecstatic to come home P2 because I thought we were kind of going to get killed there at the end because the tire deg was actually a lot higher than maybe people expected. But, you know, hats off to the guys. I think we did a good strategy. Track position is always key.
Talk us through this. You almost held him off on the older tires. Tell me what you're trying to do, what ultimately happened.
Well, I mean, all I figured was I'd make him go the hard way around, you know. I mean, all night I never had the confidence or the bravery to try the second lane, so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna keep it tight and see what happens. And you know, I tried defending the best I could, but you know, he just had a lot more grip on the fresher tires.
In your wildest dreams, did you think this kind of result was possible tonight?
I mean, to be honest, qualifying gave me a bit of hope, you know, and then in the final practice there after qualifying, we had pretty good race runs, and we weren't particularly strong at the beginning, but we were really good once the tire got old and used. So I think that showed today. Once everything settled in, I felt like my pace was really strong. I mean, for that last restart, I mean, I was leading, and it was again a late restart. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? But no, I'm just really happy it worked out.
Did you think about, or in hindsight, would you have liked to tried it with fresh tires and see what happened?
I mean, sure, in hindsight, you know, knowing how many people pit, maybe we would have done it as well. But you know, track position is always so critical. You can't take that for granted ever in this series, on any track that we drive on. So I think the team made a great call.
Pretty good result, I would say. Second in his first oval for Robert Wickens. Katie.
And for much of the race, Kevin, Alexander Rossi was laying down the fastest laps on track, but Alex, it all came down to really for you that first stop. What happened?
It was just unfortunate. I mean, the first thing is the crew is okay, so that's always your first concern. But I don't know. I didn't challenge the box that hard. It was a stop under yellow. There wasn't a huge need to, and I went to turn right to line it up, and it just went straight. But you know, from there it was a recovery. We didn't get a yellow that we needed, so we had to completely unlap ourselves and then go back through the field. So the Military Motorsports Honda was by far the best car on track, I think, and it deserved to win. But you know, it wasn't meant to be today, and just happy I get to stand on the podium with Rob this weekend.
Your strategist, Rob Edwards, mentioned that you had maybe the least tire degradation of the entire field. What was it on your car that worked so well?
We made that a priority all through the test. We made it a priority in the warm-up last night, and you know, you never know these things when you come into race day because these cars are so condition sensitive. But it was such a big focus, and we executed it, and it was necessary because without that today, I don't think we would have even seen the top 10.
Speaking of top 10, you're now on a streak of more than 10 top 10s. What clicked mid-season for you last year?
Just the whole team just went to the next level, and we just focused on the simple stuff. We didn't try and be too smart, and too often we tried to outsmart ourselves and everyone else, and we got caught with our pants down a little bit. So it was just cleaning up the basics, and I'm so blessed to have Jeremy and Rob on my stand, and they're such amazing guys. And you know, I think we need to just keep it up, and hopefully we can continue this into Long Beach next weekend.
Thanks, Alex. Let's get down to Robin.
18th to 4th for Scott Dixon. Qualifying wasn't very good. Pretty nice race.
Yeah, it was a rough weekend for us. You know, everybody in the PNC Bank crew just did an amazing job. The pit stops were fantastic, and we just had a smooth race. No major problems. Kept picking off people when we needed to. A lot on the stops, which was really good. A little bit on the exchanges too. But you know, I think these are the weekends that we really fight for championships. You know, where you don't have the best car and you try and salvage the best you can out of it. So tonight wasn't really my night, but big credit to the crew and everybody on the strategy side. And I'm looking forward to Long Beach, man. Can't wait to get this PNC Bank car hopefully victory lane.
Scotty, compared to last year to this year, compare the race, and what could be done maybe to make it a little bit racier?
It's tough, this track, the straights are really short, it's a mile oval, and then there's another corner in the middle of the back straight too, which makes it, very easy to block or take the line away. I think we can improve it for next year with, a little more lead time with a better tire again. Firestone do a tremendous job with the durability and safety, but they've got to take small steps to get, maybe something that we can work for next year. But I think the last part of the race there was exciting, man. So sometimes that's the way it goes, and it was definitely improvement over last year, which we're heading in the right direction.
All right, good job. 18th to 4th, Scott Dixon. Marty.
Let's talk to Simon Pagenaud, and let's talk about the evening for you. And really, we have to go back to the first stop as well. What happened on that stop?
Yeah, I mean, we practiced all week, and all weekend, and unfortunately, I don't know, it was super slippery out of nowhere. I took it easy because I didn't want to. I knew I was in good position. There was no intention to go in hard and try to gain a position on Bourdais at the time, but it slid, and nothing I could have done different, unfortunately. I think I'm trying to replay it in my head and think, how could I have done better? But it's just super slippery, unexpected. But it is what it is. Unfortunately, from that moment on, being shuffled back there, we had too much understeer in the car, and I couldn't get rid of it during the race. We got better at the end, but it just was too late. So shame. Congrats to Josef and Team Penske. That's great that we got a win already in the season, but yeah, a little frustrated and disappointed, frankly, with such a good car this weekend.
Are you surprised the car took such a big swing? Because on the first run, it was nearly flawless. You really didn't want many changes, but then it took a complete swing to way pushy.
A lot of it was track position today. It was one-lane racing. It was really hard. We couldn't run high, so you couldn't really get any clean air on your wings to make grip on the car. So sometimes I had 6 cars in front of me and I just couldn't get the balance right on the car, which I think was the case for everybody. We passed a few cars, but it just wasn't enough. I think Rossi was really strong for sure. He could pass, but we're probably second most passed. But track position was everything. We didn't have that.
I hate to bring it up, but you may have given your teammate Josef Newgarden a little luck because you've signed every one of his fire suits now, and he won the race.
Well, I'm going to sign my own suits then.
That's a good strategy. Sign your own suits and you're in.
Maybe that'll pay off for the next race in Long Beach.
There you go. Not the night they wanted for Simon Pagenaud. Kevin.
Marty, James Hinchcliffe comes home in 6th position, so let's go back to that final restart and before the pits open. You're running 3rd, and we heard the debate. You still think that decision made sense, or would you like to have it back?
I mean, it's tough to defend when a guy on new tires won the race, but at the same time, I'm put in the same position again. I think we would make the same decision. You don't have a crystal ball. You can't look into the future. And the thing that threw us off was that many guys taking it. We figured it'd be about 10 laps by the time the accident was cleaned up. If we were at a 2-lane racetrack, if we were at Iowa, if we were at Texas, no question. But given the nature of this place, I thought we might have a chance to hang on to a couple more. Obviously, they made the right call. Congrats to Josef. But that restart, the green was called, and the yellow was called, and the green was called. So it was a little bit confusing. And Rossi got the jump on us, and then that just threw me out of sequence. And that let Josef get a run, that let Scott get a run, let Ryan get a run. It took me a lap and a half to kind of get back into the groove, and then I was able to hold that off. But we lost so many spots by then. So disappointed to not finish a little higher up. But man, if you look back at where we were in February for Robbie, congrats to him on his first podium in IndyCar. The kid's coming pretty hard. But from where we were in February, I can't thank this team enough for all the hard work to get these cars up there. The pit stops and the Aero guys were incredible in the pit stops today. So long day, but man, I think it was a lot better show than we've had here in the past. This car, I think it's an A+ at Phoenix.
And when you mentioned February, you're speaking about the test here where you guys were near the bottom of the speed charts. But let's talk big picture now. The team was entirely overhauled. You have a new teammate. Last year did not go the way it wanted. These first 2 races, both cars had a chance to win. Where is your team at right now, and where are they headed?
Man, I'm hopefully just up from here. It was a huge change in the offseason, all through every department, really. Drivers, engineers, mechanics, commercial, the whole deal. Pierce Phillips and everybody on the team decided to do a big overhaul, and getting Tom Malloy in as tech director, getting Lena Gade in as my race engineer, obviously Robbie in the 6th car. There's been a lot of changes, but obviously something's clicking, something's working. But we're only 2 races in, 2 very different tracks, and it's great to see the competitiveness at 2 different types of circuits. We go back to a street circuit next week, and hopefully that's a good sign based on what we saw in St. Pete, and then we'll see it, the road courses and the speedways. There's still a lot of racing to go, but definitely a strong start for the whole team.
Good work. And Lee, the good news for James Hinchcliffe is next week they go to Long Beach, where he happens to be the defending winner.
Looking forward to that, Kev, for sure. So this is the first of 3 consecutive weekends of Verizon IndyCar Series racing here on NBCSN. 4 p.m. next Sunday, April 15, the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. And then the following Sunday, the 22nd, at 3 p.m. Eastern, the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama from the beautiful Barber Motorsports Park. And a reminder, when we are done, which we're not, we've still got a lot to come yet, but at the top of the hour, Mecum Auto Auctions. But stay with us because we've got more from Phoenix. Stick around. Isn't that beautiful? Renowned auto racing artist Bill Patterson, hard at work. He did one for Mario Andretti earlier in the week, and that is, of course, the race result painting that he does on the fly. As we welcome you back to ISM Raceway, the celebrations continue for Team Penske and Josef Newgarden, the reigning champion, doing such a wonderful job late in the race as he's getting ready to step on the top step of the podium. Robert Wickens, first IndyCar podium, and Alexander Rossi there, back-to-back podiums to start the year off. Very strong. But with the race win tonight, and we'll talk more about this in a little moment, but there he is, Josef Newgarden. With that win, he takes the lead in the championship. And he is trying to become Team Penske's first back-to-back champion since Gilles de Ferran in 2000-2001. Time to join Katie.
Well, Lee, as Josef Newgarden celebrates in victory lane, it was a tough day for Will Power. Will, you were battling Alexander Rossi there for position, but what happened when you kind of got up into the wall?
Yeah, actually Rossi was a lap down, trying to get his lap back, and he went very late there. And actually I was on the brakes when he was beside me into the corner, and like seriously, I can't believe it was like ice. Like I really didn't think I'd make the wall, but if you get up in the marbles, I just had no chance. I was going very slow. Unfortunately, it damaged the car. And yeah, I mean, we had a good car. I think we definitely would have had a top 5. And yeah, I feel bad for the guys to have to not, this early in the season, kind of had a bad start. But move on to Long Beach and Barb. We got some good ones coming up, and try to get back in the game.
This year, this track and the series tried what they called a tire dragging, so dragging some Firestone tires up higher to try to get that second lane to come in. What other ideas do you have that maybe could induce some passing here?
Yeah, look, I think they need to run a session where, they say you get a free set of tires, 15 or 20-minute session before final practice, and say you can only run the second lane. I think that's the only way you'll bring that in. It's a one-groove track. I think IndyCar's done a fantastic job with the car. Like the turbulence is way less, and there probably was a bit more passing now. But it's tough when you without a second lane, and if you get a little bit up there, you end up in the wall. It's just no one wants to take the risk. So, but I have to say the car's been really good. I think IndyCar did a great job.
Thanks, Phil. Over to Robin.
All right, the toughest call tonight was made by car owner Sam Schmidt. Stay out, pit, and you said let's stay out and roll the dice.
Yeah, I mean, we're in second. So you might as well stay out. I was hoping he would pit, but I was also hoping 5 other people would stay out and give us a little more runway. But when 3 people stood out, I knew it was going to be a challenge with 7 laps to go. And we thought, we had a little experience with Josef Newgarden in our history too. So I knew it was going to be tough, and he wasn't going to do anything stupid. And just Robert did a hell of a job all night.
Those first 3 laps, he did such a nice job of keeping Josef behind him.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was, taking up all the road, and I didn't think I'd have to give him that conversation yet about how to block on ovals from the Hooters days in 1990s, but the guy's unbelievably intelligent, unbelievably calm in the car. He definitely had some moments and saved the car on many occasions, and he's got a boatload of experience tonight.
Okay, the Sam Schmidt Driver Development School, you keep losing drivers. You got a 10-year deal with this guy?
Well, I was a hard line at 5, I can tell you that. I learned my lesson from Simon Pagino. I wasn't doing any less than 5.
All right, great job. 2nd and 6 for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. Kevin?
Robin, the good news for Sebastian Bourdais is he had a car good enough to win for the second time. The bad news is, unfortunately, you didn't. What happened on that pit stop?
I guess, being the first one going around under yellow, I just picked up a lot of crap in the tires and I didn't pay attention. And I got in there and I was going really, really, really slow because I had been caught out 2 years ago here, and they don't want to repeat the mistake. But no matter how slow I was coming, since I didn't scrub the tires, I just you see at what speed the thing would just not slow down. It just locked up a wheel, and then from there, and I guess the the drive-through might have been a little bit of a tough call because I barely got long. It's just I felt bad enough for touching my mechanic, but thankfully nobody was hurt. It was just not expecting it because they always set up because I never miss my marks.
Well, and you weren't the only one. Rossi also missed his on that first stop at the same time, and I think Matthias Laced also came in. I don't think he hit anything, but they thought he might have damaged the wing. So what can be done to make the pit lane a little bit safer on that first stop?
Well, it's Polish concrete, so it doesn't get any slicker than that. But bottom line, there are some guys that did a good job, and I just didn't scrub my tires coming in, and I should have looked at what was on my tires, meaning a lot of stuff, and had I seen and had I paid attention, I would have scrubbed and then it would have been fine, but I didn't. And I paid the price, and unfortunately after that it was a almost full green race, and the next yellow came after the pit sequence, so it was game over. We never got back in it, but I mean, obviously it felt like we could have won, but I think the best car was obviously Rossi. He raced his way all the way back to the podium, which we didn't. We never got a lap back. We passed a bunch of cars, but clearly he did a heck of a job, and I don't quite know how he did that, but it was pretty impressive tonight.
Still a pretty good car, though, for Sebastian Bourdais. A win in the opener, and he's still third in the championship, Marty.
And Kevin, for what it's worth, Ryan Hunter-Reay sitting here listening to that saying, yeah, I agree with him. Pit road was very slick tonight, but I want to ask you about the end of the race. Fresh tires, you restarted 6th. You finished 5th. Were you thinking you could make a little more ground than that?
I was. I knew we had about 4 or 5 laps to make hay, and around this place there's only one groove, right? So if you get a run on somebody, they block the inside, you pretty much have to wait unless you're a good ways by them. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel like a missed opportunity there, but the 28 DHL team did a great job today. Just ups and downs a bit. Had some really good starts and restarts again. Put a lot on the line on those, and then during the pit sequencing, we think we may have a fuel filling issue. We didn't get all the fuel in the car, but all in all, I mean, it was a decent night. I'm a bit disappointed with 5th because I feel like we should be on the podium had we had a really good run there. I'm not sure what happened with IndyCar I was like, throw the green, let's go green, and we just kept going around under yellow. But hey, it was a good race to the end there. I think that made it exciting, and wish we got more out of it. But it was a lot of fun. Looking forward to Long Beach next week. My family will be with me there, and hi to the boys at home and to my wife. I know they're showing a lot of support right now. So hopefully we can put it together at Long Beach. We had a lot of unfinished business there. Last year we died while the car shut off while running second. So hopefully we can get that going again.
Yeah, I tell you what, always fun to watch this guy at the short ovals. He loves taking that high line on those restarts. So that was fun to watch this evening as well.
And big picture, RHR, Ryan Hunter-Reay, is in the top 5 of the championship after 2 races. That is a very ominous sign. Not done with yet here in Phoenix. More to come.
Welcome back to a beautiful night in Phoenix, Arizona, where Josef Newgarden is celebrating his first win of the 2018 season as fans file out. Meanwhile, Ed Jones was running second near the end of the race, and then Ed hit the wall. What happened?
Yeah, it was a long race, very challenging. We knew that it was going to be that case after, the crashes over there. After the testing, we knew it was going to be very difficult. But actually, it was a lot better than I expected. We had great pit stops, kept moving up places, and ran second with, I think, 27 laps to go or so. And then I caught a back marker Piggott. I'd passed him early on in the race, so I knew how to get around him and didn't want to take any risks. But got into 3, and as soon as I turned in, the car just went straight up into the wall. It was a big hit. Super frustrating. The entity data car was amazingly quick, and the guys on the pit stop did probably the best stops I think in the field. Gained 6 positions on the first stop and a few more as we went on. So I'm upset with the mistake I made. But on the other hand, it's great for myself and Chip Ganassi Racing to already be fighting for the wins in our second race together, and brings us a lot of hope for the races to come.
All right, tough end to the day for Ed Jones after some very positive news for him and the 10 team. As you see, Josef Newgarden celebrating there in victory lane with a selfie and his teammates.
Nothing like celebrating a victory, like Josef Newgarden is here at ISM Raceway in Phoenix, victorious on an oval, and the reigning champion begins his title defense in the best possible way. An aggressive move, a decisive move, and as Josef said, a great team move. Great team decision.
It really was. Very clever to go with the sticker tires there at the end. I didn't think they could pull it off because of how narrow the groove was and how brave Newgarden would have to be to make the pass on the outside. But let me tell you what's exciting here is look at the way the Verizon IndyCar Series is shaping up this season. Certainly you've got a Penske up front, but Robert Wiggins, the most sensational rookie I think I've seen ever in the history of this series. He's done just a fabulous job.
And Paul, for you, people could point the finger and say, oh, well, it's easy for you to jump on board. He's one of your guys. You're from Ontario, countryman. But is he the star of the show tonight for you? I mean,
well, I really think he's the star of the future for sure. He's got tremendous talent. But the thing that I took away from tonight is a lot of drivers are not maybe a little bit of complaining. I couldn't pass. I couldn't do this. We had 5 different leaders tonight, and a heck of a race at the end. It was like all kinds of passing at the end of the race. So amazing finish for Newgarden.
And an amazing end of the night. It feels like we've stepped into a wind tunnel up here on top of the grandstand, that's for sure. Let's show you the updated points, though, after 2 of 17 rounds. And it is a new leader, Josef Newgarden to the top. Alexander Rossi, back-to-back podiums, puts him in second. And the pole sitter tonight, Bourdais, drops to third.
And look at that. Graham Rahal moves up to 4th. Hunter Ray in the top 5. You show me these 10 drivers. I'll take the top 15 in points, and I'll give you 15 reasons why they can all win races and potentially challenge for the championship. It's going to be super tight down the stretch.
3 races in 3 weekends. What are you looking forward to, Paul Tracy, about Long Beach next weekend?
Well, Long Beach, anything can happen. Like the first 2 races of the year, who could predict what was going to happen? So look for Long Beach. Maybe Dixon's going to come back strong. He had a good night tonight. He was quiet all night, but he put in a good result at the end of the night.
T-Bell, 3rd winner in 3 weeks?
I think it's entirely possible. Yeah, no question. And I think the guys that we saw tonight challenge will be back strong at Long Beach. Several guys also need to make it happen there.
What a night here in Phoenix. Reminding you, coming up next, it's Meekum Auto Auctions from Houston. And as we've just been talking about, be sure to join us next Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern for the legendary Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, T-Bell's hometown. Not Long Beach, but LA anyway. For more information on the Verizon IndyCar Series, log on to NBCSports.com. Thanks for joining us. IndyCar is rocking in 2018. We congratulate Josef Newgarden. See you next weekend.